if people will understand, because when you talk about connecting to that inner voice, those subpersonalities, there is a great fear in people that have had huge traumas in the past,
Mm-hmm.
rapes. They
Mm-hmm.
did things that they feel guilty about. Um, if people could really, really understand that there's no evil parts. Okay, these are parts that are there to protect you or to do other things. So when you're going deep into this, the subpersonalities to find out, can just a little bit just to explain that there are no evil parts, because you glossed over it, but I know a lot of people that are saying, I'm not going to even go into that. It's dangerous or scary for them. I'm here with Ilan, Koch, Koch,
Koch.
Koch. I'm going to get that better. Okay. And not only is a great guy, good friend, but holistic emotional coach, level 3 trained and internal family systems practitioner, and brilliant method. Psychedelic integration, nonviolent communication, and authentic dating expert. That's kind of
Yep.
cool. Well,
It is very awesome.
brother, I haven't seen you in a long time. Okay.
Mm,
Now, can you share your story? Okay. How you arrived at this point? Because, you're literally fulfilling your life's purpose.
definitely. So while I'm going to share my story, I will also do it in segments where I'll also explain what I see as levels of spiritual evolution. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The first stage is me from until age 17. I was the typecast of a guy that had no self-confidence at all. I was afraid of my own shadow. I couldn't speak publicly, not even thinking about approaching females that I'm finding attracted to. I was living my life playing computer games, coping with my miserable existence. Then around age 18, I had a physical makeover. And then I had like an American Pie scene where I met my first girlfriend. Back then, I used to live in a Disney movie where I saw women as these princesses and I'm going to be the prince. I need to win them over, classical Disney movie. And what happened with that girl, we fell madly in love with each other. At the same time, because I didn't have, my levels of confidence were so low, I was very needy and suffocating her and very jealous. So that had led me to the moment of almost death. Or what happened is, I was in the army. I tore some ligaments in my shoulder in an exercise. She decided to break up with me. I let go of all my friends, all my hobbies, all my passions, because my ex-girlfriend was my only love and purpose in my life. And when she broke up with me, I was emotionally handicapped. When I tore the ligaments in my shoulder, I was also physically handicapped. And that led me to the place of the almost lowest place a human being can come to, which is a point of suicide. I was with my M4 in the base, sleeping with my gun. I don't know what to say in English, but open. It only took for a person just touch me like this where I'm sleeping and I automatically gonna shoot my brains off. That was the darkest moment of my life. Then, thankfully, my suppression mechanisms kicked in. So I slowly suppressed all the trauma and all the pain that happened to me. And then came the first day that changed my life into a certain direction. Basically, what happened is I went to the beach with two of my friends, and we see this stunner lying at the beach. It seemed like as if she was taken from Sport Illustrated. Nobody had the balls to talk with her, of course. And then one of them tells me, "Don't worry, my brother will come soon and he will show us how it's done." In my head, I'm like, "What does that mean?" After like 5 minutes, comes this guy that seems to me as pretty confident, lighthearted, looks physically cool, not a model or anything. He comes over, he looks at that girl, and he asks us, "Did anybody talk with her?" Like, what do you mean? This guy did not think a second. He just went in, woke her up from her sleep. She was like, "What is happening?" They started to chat. After like 10 minutes, they're joking with each other. After like 30, 40 minutes, they're almost making out. After an hour, he comes back to us. I'm so cognitively dissonant of what is happening in front of my face. I'm going like, did you know this girl? And he tells me, nah, but she wants me to drive with her to Jerusalem. And who would drive 40 minutes just to have sex with someone? You know what happened in my nerdy brain? I was thinking I would fly to Thailand to touch her with a stick. How did you do it? He tells me, and he was laughing because he saw my compassion and excitement, and my passion and excitement. He tells me, well, you can study this. Like, what do you mean? He gave me some books about how to be a competent male when it comes to sexuality and dynamics between men and women. This is getting out from the first stage. The first stage is me being in this lonely cave of depression, and somebody comes out with a light, tells me, hey, listen, you can change your reality by taking these steps. So I started to apply these steps. It was mainly about fake it till I make it. And boy, I kind of made it at that time. After a year, I met another guy, a new guy, friends of friends, super intelligent. And we went to a party. And during the party, he started to speak with me about these weird conspiracy theories, which I thought were totally lunatics, but he seemed to me like a very intelligent guy. So I'm thinking, okay, so either you're dumb or I'm dumb, and I'm not dumb, and you don't seem dumb to me. Show me your evidence. Let's see what is going on there. He showed me some stuff that have completely shattered my atheistic perspective till that point. I knew that I cannot hold on to these beliefs any longer because they do not make sense. And then I started to dive very, very deep into rabbit holes, religion, spirituality, aliens, Satanism, everything. After that moment, I was thinking, I had a depression for a few moments, for a few days. And I was also at that time thinking, what do I want to do with my life? I knew that my willpower is low, so I cannot power through something. If I want to be successful, I have to have passion towards what I'm doing. I had two things coming up. One of them was medicine. The other one was psychology. Psychology, I was more passionate about. At the same time, there was fear that if I will go through psychology, nobody promises me anything when it comes to finances. If I go with the medical route and I'm becoming a doctor, the odds of me having a financially stable life is way, way higher. I was contemplating about it for like 2 years. Eventually, I decided to walk the path of fear. I took on medicine instead of following my passion, and the universe very, very hard and broke my shoulder and almost made me die in a motorcycle accident.
Wow.
Yes, this is part of the reason why I have the neck problems, and I came to you. I had to rethink about my life again. A year afterwards, I'm driving to a bar that I was working in. A voice of, you can call it God, source, IFS, we call it self, whatever you want. It was an evening day. It was dark and it was cloudy. And I heard like the sky departed and I had this beam of light on my face, right? In my mind's eye. And as I'm contemplating about what I'm going to do again, the voice starts to speak with me. And it tells me, Ilan, what are you afraid of? And then I'm answering, well, I'm afraid of not being financially successful. And then the voice tells me, do you like what you do? And by that, the voice meant talking with new people that I don't know anything about and enjoying it. I said, yes, I like it. And then the voice asked me, do people get value from having conversations with you? I said, yes, it seems like they do. So then the voice tells me, so what's the problem? Go to the psychology route, start working, even if it's for free in the beginning, people get value out of it, and naturally they will want to share this value with people that they love. Bam, you have a business. Everything clicked. At that moment, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna walk the path that I was meant to walk. I went to coaching school at age 26. I'm 32 now. There in the coaching school, I had a teacher, his name was Ilan, again, coincidence. I have never seen a thing like this in my life. We had in our first class with him, some girl asked him a question. Ilan was closing his eyes, thinking for about 10 seconds, and then told her, listen, you asked me this question, but what you really meant to ask me is this. And the reason why you asked me this is because your mother treated you like this, and your father treated you like this, and this is what you actually want to know. My mind was completely mind blown. I'm like,
Wow.
what the hell? I want to be like this guy. And I want to be a teacher in his institute. I have a part in me that is an all-in part. When I have a passion towards something, I'm going to devote my life to it. So I was the golden boy in the class because I came into the personal development, success with the females, and all this kind of stuff. And soon comes the second stage. In almost the last class we had, there was feedback class where everybody giving feedback to everyone. And there's a certain way to how to give feedback. You ask permission, you say the good stuff, the things that can be improved, how to improve them, and another thing that I forgot. All the people give me feedback, right? And then my teacher's turn comes up. He threw the whole protocol of giving a feedback to the toilet and started like this. Ilan, are you ready? All the class, like, what the hell is going on? Me as well. And he tells me, Ilan, listen, I can relate to what the people in your class said about you. You do have those A, B, C positive qualities to you. At the same time, you cannot be a coach. Not only that, you will not be a teacher in my institute. And everybody knew that this is the whole reason why I'm there.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And then he keeps on talking. He says, Ilan, you are playing roles. You're in the role of the smart guy. You're in the role of the guy that is good with women. You're in the role of being nice. You're playing roles all the time. And like this, you cannot be a coach. Everybody are in shock, complete silence. Then he goes on saying, at the same time, the moment that you will learn to connect to the true Ilan and really love him for who he is, this will be the moment when you're when you have major breakthroughs. You'll be one of the best coaches in Israel, in the world, teacher, whatever you want. The moment you learn to truly love yourself. To be honest with you, I had no idea that. So I came to him after the class and I'm telling him, hey, Ilan, when you said that these roles that you're talking about, what did you mean? He was looking at me. He had such a shocked face and said, oh my God, you are even more emotionally disconnected than I even perceived. You have to go to therapy, not a coach, therapy. So he sent me to the psychologist that he went to. And the thing about that psychologist, she was very good because she was outside of the mainstream. So I'm coming to her and she tells me, okay, so what brings you here? And I'm telling her, listen, Ilan sent me, to be honest, I don't know, I don't have any issues. She looks at me, she smiles, like, okay. First session, she's gathering information. Second session, she starts to speak a little bit. Third session, she puts a mirror in my face. Basically, what she says is this. What I'm seeing in front of me is a very competent male that has this and that positive attributes to him. At the same time, he has nothing to show for it. You are extremely emasculated. You are deprived from your masculinity, from your aggression, you're disconnected from your emotions, and your dream that you have, it will not be achieved unless you do this. I'm like, what? You have to be aware of your basement where all your skeletons are in and slowly bring them up, loving them and letting them go. Didn't know what it meant, but I told her, listen, I'm going to do everything it takes. I'm devoting my life for this. For about half a year, she connected me to my emotions, my aggression, and so on. And then came stage two. Stage two was this. I saw a video of my favorite dating coach and this woman that I saw for the first time named Till Swan. They spoke to one another, and the way that she spoke to him contradicted a lot of what I learned in the coaching and psychology field. At the same time, made so much sense. It was the first time in my life that I'm watching a YouTube video and I'm crying. And I was thinking, who is this female? So I started to dive very deep into her content. And then I found out that she has a process that she calls the completion process, where basically she teaches how to heal trauma. So I'm reading the book, I'm closing my eyes, doing what she says to do. Out of nowhere pops up a memory that I was completely oblivious to since I was like 3 years old, I'm doing the whole process. I'm crying, shaking, having catharsis, like an hour and a half process. When it's done, I'm opening my eyes. It felt as if I've taken MDMA. And this is the moment where the breakthrough started to happen. Things, it's kind of like Neo in the Matrix when he dies and then resurrects himself. And then Smith comes to him and he just effortlessly doing this, not allowing any attacks to hit him. This is what happens to me when I started to communicate with people, especially women. I felt whatever I want happens effortlessly, and I didn't know why. I didn't understand what happened to me. After a month, after talking with this Facebook group of men, I understood what happened. I'm becoming authentic. I'm not playing the roles anymore that the teacher told me that I used to play. The guys saw that and then wanted me to teach them how I'm doing it. And soon it will be over. A guy comes to me, he tells me, okay, Ilan, what is your pickup line? I'm laughing because I'm telling him I don't use any pickup lines. And then he tells me, well, what do you mean you don't use any pickup lines? What do you do? Well, what I'm doing is I'm noticing what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, and then I'm expressing that as authentically as I can, ideally without crossing the boundaries of the person in front of me. Like, okay, how do I do this? So I ask him, okay, you see that girl over there? He says, yeah. How do you feel thinking about approaching her? I feel a knot in my stomach. Okay, is that okay with you that we will follow this knot in your stomach? Long story short, what happened, this guy understood the trauma that held him back, something that happened with his mom that reflects in his current reality when he thinks about approaching females. I was with this guy for like about an hour and a half. My body was shaking and I had shivers as if somebody taking 1,000 voltages on my balls and doing like this to them, because one part of me is saying, holy shit, I've never done this before. I don't want to screw up with this guy. Another part of me is saying, don't worry, I can handle this. When this guy left, I was crying because I was thinking in my head, I can do this and get paid? I won the lottery. Long story short, the guys are to come over another after another. And then one of them tells me, hey, Ilan, my mom has anger issues. Could you help her as well? I'm like, yeah, sure. She comes on Zoom with me. Her system was very open. After like 10 minutes into the session, we are deep into a trauma where she sees that when she was a child, her father punished her. And when he did that, he locked her in the toy room. We're going through the healing process. And then when she comes out of it, she looks at me and she looks like she's calculating something in her head. I'm like, what are you thinking about? And then she tells me, now I understand why every time I fight with my husband, I lock myself in the toilet room.
Wow. Now, is this part of the internal family systems practitioner? What does subpersonalities? What does that mean? Is that kind of what you're describing? Like we're not aware of these different personalities that we have?
It's kind of looking, it's like the invention of the microscope, right? Let's say somebody has an issue in his belly. Let's say he's bloated, right? One can use medical instruments to go inside the stomach to understand what is happening there. So for example, you can find a microbe that causes gas, that causes inflammation and bloating, right? But before having that, people would guess, oh, you can try this, you can try that. But when you have the right lens, you can pinpoint exactly what is happening and solve it, especially if you're a holistic practitioner that knows that it's a whole system. And if you look in only one part of the system and disregarding the other parts of the system, the healing potential is limited. So the thing about internal family systems, it was invented by Dick Schwartz. He's a family therapist. And then in his therapy sessions, there were people that were talking to him in what now we call parts language. In a family therapy session, let's say there is a daughter and her parents, right? Let's say the daughter is not opening up. So the practitioner might think, okay, could be that the parents are studying with someone, so I could invite the parents to go out of the room so I could speak with the daughter, and then she would open up. So then Dick had a moment of revelation. Wait, maybe it also works the same inside, not only on the outside. So for example, we all have the infamous inner critic, the voice that judges us, or you're not good enough, you should have said this, you should have done that. Probably I'm gonna have that after this conversation. And usually there's a lot of hatred toward that voice. But the thing about IFS or internally framed systems, we come from a perspective that is non-pathologizing and non-judgmental. We come from a principle that says all parts are welcome. So that means there is no part that is against you. At the same time, some parts tend to get to extreme roles because of trauma, because they feel like they have to protect. So for example, let's say there's this inner critic. So Dick would ask the girl, how do you feel towards that voice? And she would say something like, oh, I hate it. It messes up with my life. I feel worthless because of it. So that is a part. So Dick would tell her, could you ask that part to take a step back? And then to Dick's surprisement, it actually worked. And then Dick asks her, how do you feel now towards the voice in you? And then she goes like, oh, I'm actually kind of curious about it now. Bam! Curiosity, then comes compassion. Then the critic could say something like this. Well, when you were a little girl, if I wouldn't criticize you, you would get beaten by your mom. So I had to do this to protect you. Then it opens up the layer of what we call exiled parts. These are the parts that have been traumatized, stuck in time, have accumulated extreme emotions and beliefs that we call burdens. And these parts are being protected by protectors, by managers and firefighters. So basically, our goal in IFS is to help people become aware of their inner voices or parts that manifest themselves as different sensations, voices, visuals, music, illnesses, and so on, and reharmonizing them by facilitating healthy communication between them.
So then that's their inner reality. So
Exactly.
making them aware that they're different subpersonality traits. Now you mentioned Teal Swan in trauma therapy. It sounds transformative. Can you expand more on that?
Yes. So basically what happened with me, so I found out about her when I was like 27. I had the completion process done by myself, on myself. And then I had the craziest breakthroughs for about 1.5 or 2 years. I call them the golden ages. At a certain point, I got stuck. So I flew to her for a workshop, and then someone in the audience told me about IFS, right? So then I flew back to Israel. I had a first session. My mind was completely blown, and my all-in part kicked in. I'm going to study that. I've been in her training, the completion process training, when I was in the States about 3 months ago. And so I could see exactly her perspective when it comes to trauma healing. So from my perspective, if you take what she says in her process and you combine that with an IFS lens, and it's not only her process, it's also all her content. This is the most aware, healthy, emotional, spiritual perspective that I've ever seen. And my hope that one day they will collaborate, because it is amazing.
Yeah. Very, very cool. I mean, I've got a quote by you, and this, I think, honest to God, is one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard. The more fearful a person is, the more he uses his mind. The more fearless a person is, the more he uses his heart. I mean, okay, Ilan, that takes a boatload of courage to express your feelings directly from your heart. Okay, that's a skill set. Now, in nonviolent communication, they talk about if you're going to express something, you have to ask that person's permission to see if this is a new idea, because information given without permission is a challenge. How do you balance those two? You know, speaking directly from your heart, but also connecting with that person.
Just like there is martial arts, there is what I call emotional arts.
I love that.
Yes. One day I'll open a company that is named this way, unless somebody will watch it and steal it from me. Please don't. So this is the art of on the one side being authentic. So this is the biggest thing with the dating mainstream approach, right? Basically, what they say is this: implied or indirect. This is how an attractive male or female looks like and behave like. Be like them, you get what they get. This was basically me from age 20 to age 26. But why is that? It's because people are afraid of being vulnerable. And one cannot be authentic without being vulnerable. They go hand in hand. This is why men are so like going to dissonance when I'm telling them, oh, I'm not micromanaging my situations. See, from a dating pickup for males and also for females approaches, I would literally learn lines that were not mine because I knew the attraction mechanisms of females, and I would tell stories that were not even mine. And what I see a lot of people, men and women, they micromanage what they say because they hope that this is how they will be perceived in a good light. So then the other person will be attracted, playing those roles that my teacher told me about. See? So in order to create a meaningful life, one must be authentic and vulnerable. Not only meaningful life, but also meaningful relationships. So when I'm coming with an open heart and saying, I'll give you an example. Happened to me today. I'm walking by the beach and I see these gorgeous two females, right, that I want to approach. I sensed I had one part of me, super confident alpha macho guy, no confidence issues at all on the one side. On the other side, I had this scared little boy inside of me that was totally afraid of rejection. So I passed them a little bit, but then I came back because I understood that I'm escaping from my own fear. So I communicated with my fear. I told her, listen, I know you're afraid. At the same time, I promise you that if the rejection that you're imagining will happen, I will be here for you. So I approached them, and then I told them, hey, I took their attention. Then I asked them, can I be honest with you guys? Who will say no, right? Who will say no to that? Okay, this is the best pickup line one can get, but you have to be honest because people will sniff the inauthenticity if you just use it as a pickup line. They said yes. And then I told them exactly what happened to me. When I saw you guys, I had this part of me that was thinking, oh my God, you're so attractive, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, there was another part of me that made my heart race really, really fast because it was afraid of rejection, blah, blah, blah. See, I'm literally expressing what is happening inside me authentically.
Brilliant, brilliant. I mean, so it is expressing feelings, needs, or I mean, just that is nonviolent communication. Now,
Yeah.
now you're mastering breaking down the subpersonalities. You're having people connect with that inner reality that they were totally unaware with, that's limiting their life expression and their life connection. I mean, you also work with psychedelic integration. I mean, LSD, psilocybin, ayahuasca.
MDMA,
How do
dopamine.
MDMA? That's the ecstasy. Okay, how do you? Is this stuff legal in Israel, or is it's like in America where it's illegal but you can get it anywhere?
Kind of like in America.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it is not legal, just like it was not legal when Corona hit to give certain medications.
Or suggest vitamins.
There you go. So unfortunately, because it is not legal, I will not practice it, right? At the same time, I'm in no control of what people decide or do not decide to take. The thing about psychedelics or mind-altering substances is this. There's a beautiful movie that I recommend everyone to watch. It's called The Trip of Compassion. It basically shows sessions that have been done with the assistance of MDMA. I do not fully align with the therapeutic approaches that are in the movie. At the same time, there are beautiful elements to it that I do align with. So the thing about taking mind-altering substances is that it shows you a different potential to life and a different perspective. So let's say someone has heavy level, high on the spectrum of PTSD, right? So from my perspective, everyone have PTSD because we all experience trauma The question is to what degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for those that are high on the spectrum, they are consumed by the trauma. Their nervous system is constantly activated. They can go in the street. I had a client like this. He was so fearful while walking down the street. He out of nowhere screams out of terror, right? So, for example, for a person like this, when he'll take MDMA, what will happen? Instead of being inside of the trauma that he's fully identified with, he will be able to unblend or disidentify from the trauma, and by thus getting perspective. So the person is not the trauma now. He can communicate with the trauma and the part there that had an emotional distress that is not resolved. This is the definition of trauma. And then from that perspective, this aware perspective, that poor part over there that got stuck in time in trauma can be assisted and helped when it's done the right way. Not only that, after I've experienced different kinds of mind-altering substances, my mind opened up in such a profound way, or understood I'm not alone here. I understood my purpose even clearer, and the changes are extremely profound. At the same time, it's a super powerful tool, so must be used with caution.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is it's a tool. We've got a couple of clinics that I refer people to in Mexico where they can do psilocybin, they can do ayahuasca, but that's run in a structured basis. And honestly, I've seen some brilliant results with psilocybin microdosing on multiple sclerosis, on Parkinson's, on a number of different things. And we have this prejudicial nature that if you can make a patent medicine out of it, it's good. And if it's a plant, it's bad. It's like you can grow a marijuana plant in California, north, and sell it, enjoy it. If you grow that plant south of the border, you get arrested for life.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. It's a plant. It's been used for thousands of years. Now, what results do people experience working with you? Can you share some success stories? Because I mean, what you're doing is revolutionary, and I want people to understand that.
Okay. It's kind of like what you experience with your clients. Some stuff can be fixed, or not fixed, but rehabilitated in a matter of a session or two. Some things takes longer, right? I'll give you an example. I had a client.
For a background, you have been to my clinic and you stayed out here for about a month, and
Yep.
that's why when I say you're a friend, it's just you might come across cool, but you really are cool.
Much appreciated.
God bless you, brother.
And also, it takes one to know one. So I'll give you a few examples. Back in the day when I was focused on the niche of dating, I used to go with the guys out. I had an earpiece, they had an earpiece, so I can hear everything that they say and I could guide them. I had this one client. He got so triggered by the fact of thinking to approach a female, his stomach would twist and turn so hard, he ran to the toilet to have diarrhea every single time. It's so intense. For about the 3 or 4 first sessions, then it started to calm down. He flew to Mexico. After like 10 sessions that we had, he sent me a picture of him after being in a club with this gorgeous female and tells me, do you remember when I ran to the toilet to have diarrhea? Now it changed. Another example, I had my best friend also had this experience where we experienced having a wall with our parents. So for me, back in the day, to tell to my mom that I love her and truly mean it, I couldn't do it. It felt like a wall. So my best friend that I also did therapy to had that as well. In the first session, he came to the awareness that when he was an early teen, he was really mad about something. His mom came over. He accidentally shut the door on her fingers. And then he saw the blood. He felt so much guilt and shame of what happened. He completely blocked himself from her because he perceived himself as being a monster and not deserving of his mother love. After this session, one session, could open up towards her, express to her what happened, say sorry for it, and now their relationship is better than it's ever been. I'll give you another example, addiction. I had a client, super successful, a builder, had an alcohol addiction. He went through the 12 steps. So the thing about the 12 steps, it can definitely help people to a degree, because basically what happens there, you kind of give your power to a higher power. You find yourself completely powerless to the thing that you have, to the desires or attachments. But in 2 sessions with this guy, he understood something, that the voice in him that wants that alcohol that he perceived as bad is not bad, because, coming from IFS perspective, all parts are welcome. So then he started to get curious about these. Usually addiction, people that are addicted, they perceive this voice as being tentacles. It's very interesting to notice that. He started to speak with the tentacles, and then what he became aware of, they're not just this evil force that want to sabotage his life. Those tentacles are actually looking for a meaningful life that have purpose and passion towards it. But because that need of them was not being met, they went to alcohol because this is the way for them to cope with it. So when this guy understood what is happening there, like, what? So, but I want your life as well. Like, I want the life of passion and meaning. That's what I'm aiming for. And the tentacles go like, really? So we can collaborate. After 2 sessions, cravings gone, completely gone. Not only that, just thinking about having a glass of wine, it's less, it comes from a place, my life is so good now, I don't feel the need to take them anymore. See? So some things can be resolved in a couple of sessions, maybe in 1 session. I had also another client, was in the army, had massive panic attacks, came out of nowhere. After 1 session, he became aware of what the panic is actually saying, because from his awareness, he wasn't aware of the voice. He was only aware of the physical manifestation. Once he became aware of the voice as well, then he could understand, oh, so this is what's happening, no panic attacks anymore. Because when this emotion comes up, he becomes aware, oh, it's a part of me that needs attention. Let's look what it says. You want this and that. Okay, let's meet your needs. No panic attacks.
That if people will understand, because when you talk about connecting to that inner voice, those subpersonalities, there is a great fear in people that have had huge traumas in the past, rapes. They did things that they feel guilty about. If people could really understand that there's no evil parts. Okay, these are parts that are there to protect you or to do other things. So when you're going deep into this, the subpersonalities to find out, can just a little bit, just to explain that there are no evil parts? Because you glossed over it, but I know a lot of people that are saying, I'm not going to even go into that. It's dangerous or scary for them.
Right, and this is a very common fear of protective parts. Basically, their perspective is, I know the kind of shit that is in that basement, and I don't want to open this up, because if that opens up, I'm going to be dead, on their perspective. So with a good IFS practitioner, we emphasize very much that we never bypass protectors, because we respect them. So when walls are coming up, we're not interested, unlike some other perspectives, to bypass through them, because the wall is there for a reason. So we will want to get curious about the reason why it's there, build trust with it. So then at its own pace, it will allow us to slowly or fastly go deeper, right? So there is that. With a good IFS practitioner, the danger of being overwhelmed is really minimized. That's one thing. The other thing is, my perception, no baby is born evil. Right? Babies, turning to kids, they are like sponges that absorb whatever is happening around them. This is how they understand that they need to live life to fit in the tribe, right? There's no evil baby. So there is no evil kid. So then the question comes, okay, so at what point do they turn evil or bad? Well, from my perspective, never.
They never do.
Exactly. What happens, as I said before, some parts of them, due to trauma, had to come to extreme roles in order to protect, right? Dick says that he's been doing it for like 40 years. I'm doing it for like 5 years. I have never met a part that I eventually did not love, because I know that every part, even the most extreme ones, they always have a positive agenda. At the same time, it is often hidden. It's usually the parts that are the most extreme that I find the most compassion from, because they basically devote their lives to protect. It's like a soldier doing everything that it can to protect the country, right? So
Very cool.
yeah.
I mean, just you know, whatever challenges you've had in the past, don't be afraid to confront them through this pattern, this process. It's brilliant, cathartic, and makes you experience life fully. Now, how can my audience follow you? I know you've got some services that you can offer. I know there's going to be stuff on the bottom of the screen here. What are you offering? Because I want people to get in touch with you. We talk
I
about
really
physical,
appreciate that.
chemical, emotional, and you're hitting 2 of the 3.
Yes. There is the website. It's Ilan Koch. It's ILANKOCH.com. There's also my social media. And hopefully very soon my parts will allow me to fully emerge in this world. So there will be more access. At the same time, this is what my parts allow me at this point in time.
Well, I got to tell you, we're opening up a larger site. It should be open before September, and I want you as one of the contributors. I mean, God bless you for your work, brother.
I really appreciate that. And also, I don't remember if I told you that, but I would love for the IFS Institute to collaborate with you and your centers, right?
That would be fantastic. I mean, we've got, you know, here in Huntington Beach, Mexico, Thailand, we're trying to take it the world, because the world really needs a different perspective. Even though that you're censored, I'm censored. You know, we're the new underground.
Becoming mainstream slowly.
Become amazed, yeah, slowly. That's okay, man. Okay, God bless you, brother. I mean, you know, I miss you, and I'm so glad you're saving and changing lives. Okay, this was brilliant. Let's make this part 1 of a few parts.
I'd love that.
God bless you, man.
Thank you very much, brother.